Final Stop, Brazil. Book 2, Life After Hell. Chapter 13. A groom for me? Sunday, the day of the visit, I sat in the cell and wrote letters to Sandra, Andrea, and my mother when Sheila came and disturbed me, asking if I was still looking for a man to marry. Downstairs was one for me, the brother of Eunice, one of my working colleagues. Laughing, I asked her, "You ain't serious, are you?" She was. So I got changed, brushed my hair, and followed her down, where she introduced me to Eunice's brother. Eunice withdrew herself with the words, "You two alone can talk much better." I felt like an idiot, and the first impression of this man was not the best. Neither he possessed similarity to Jeff, nor did he have a mouth to talk, and when he finally did, I was met by a stale odor of alcohol. Nevertheless, I tried desperately to get a conversation going. The only thing I learned was that he came with his 2 children every week for a visit. Wait a minute. Are they kidding me here? I thought. They are trying to make a joke with the husband of Eunice, because if he should actually be the brother, then where was the mother of the 2 children? He wasn't getting the conversation going in any way. It was just embarrassing. Finally, Adriana came to the rescue and joked with him. "Where were you this morning already?" "Ah, in the church." "Are they recently serving liquor there?" Well, at least he could laugh about himself. Nevertheless, I looked around for a saving anchor, discovered Claudina, and fled to her. Shortly after, I didn't see Eunice's brother anymore. Looked around the corner into the yard and discovered him there, arm in arm with his sister. So actually, they tried to make a fool out of me. Discreetly, I snuck back up into the cell and turned to my letters. After closing time, Eunice followed Sheila in our cell, and both asked, quite shocked, why I had fled so quickly. Eunice started to call me sister-in-law from that moment on. Cautiously, I asked later on in the evening, Tati and Sheila, whether it really was perhaps not the brother but the husband of Eunice. I knew those 2 would not lie to me. Once again, I let the afternoon pass in review. This man was not a beauty, but also not ugly. After all, it was no wonder that no conversation came about, since we were both pretty well taken by surprise. Maybe I should give it a second try. My last thought before falling asleep was, sooner or later, I had to stop thinking about Jefferson, otherwise he would not function with getting married. Monday, I went for sunbathing again to intensify my tan, which had turned into a nice bronze color. At noon, I let Sheila cut my hair, what she did very well, and so that I was able to grow it again. Yes, suddenly a change was happening with me. I started taking care of myself and my body again, shaved my legs after a long time, and even bought me earrings the same afternoon for the acceptable price of 7 packs of cigarettes. Addressing Eunice, I joked, "Look, I've bought them especially for your brother." Everyone broke out with laughter. My good mood, however, quickly got a damper when I was called to the front. Wesley had come. "Tell me how much this agassiz cost, and how I can pay it to you. I want to get out of here." I blurted out immediately. 500 reais. Once I have the money, I opened the case. He gave me the answer directly. Only one thing worried me. What if I get my sentence before? "Then it is too late for agassiz," Wesley replied. I realized that now began a race against time, so I tried to negotiate with him because I already gave the consulate the order to transfer my 200 reais to Wesley. Asked him to begin the process. The remaining money would be no later than in 2 to 3 weeks on his account. He wouldn't settle on it. I had an idea and asked him to come with me to the cash deposit and withdrawal. To the accountant, I explained that it was an emergency and I needed money urgently to pay my lawyer. Yes, I knew that this was not allowed, but it was an emergency. This was about my freedom. I knew that I had more than 300 reais on my account. It was against the rules, and she could not pay me or my lawyer. A desperate situation. One more time I was hoping for my mother and her help. But how could I get in touch with her quickly? Nevertheless, I assured Wesley that he would have the money on this account within the next 2 weeks. I feverishly searched for a solution. In the office, I asked for a phone call to the consulate. It was permitted, but unfortunately no one attended the call. Why should anything go smooth for me? I didn't go too crazy about it, because I knew that Mr. Sturm would come the next day, and one day wouldn't make a difference anymore. Tuesday I was a bit nervous, though, but took my sun bath as always in the morning. Recently a letter had fallen accidentally into my hands, written by Mr. Sturm, addressed to the Swiss woman I once had sent a letter to, but never received a response. In this letter he wrote some outrageous lies about me, like, for example, that he, Mr. Sturm, had the feeling that I needed a conversation from woman to woman, and therefore asked the lady to visit me, but she should be cautious, because I didn't always tell the truth, etc. Somehow it went wrong, and since my name was somehow mentioned in this letter, it accidentally ended up with me. Long ago I decided to confront Mr. Sturm with this letter, but I couldn't do it on this day, which annoyed me very much. For the moment I could not afford to crash with him again. I needed the consulate now urgently. Finally I was called in the afternoon. At the sight of this personified arrogance and open hostility towards me, it was difficult to keep my temper under control and to remain friendly. It was obvious this man hated me like the plague. I waited impatiently until Claudia was finished with her profane questions. Then Mr. Sturm was talking about the subject of relocation and subdued that it no longer existed. The state of Sao Paulo had a lack of space, and therefore it was decided that only foreign men were to relocate, because they were supposedly more endangered than women. The women would stay where they were. Didn't he tell us that all foreign women of the PE had already been removed? Gracias a Dios, I blurted. At least that was off the table. He finally handed me a few letters from the youth office, the director of the home, and a copy of a subpoena for Michael before the juvenile court. A nice way to inform me that Michael had come in conflict again with the law. None of this surprised me any more. I had anticipated all this when they brought him back to Germany. This time it was thieving. What would come next? Currently, however, I had to push aside the concern for Michael. As friendly as I could, I asked Mr. Sturm to call my mother. But that was as far as I got, because he thundered into my words. No, I can't do that. I can write to her or send a fax. I still remained friendly. There has to be a possibility for it, because she needs to send me money as fast as possible for my lawyer, so he can open the process of agace. She doesn't have a fax machine. Where did this man live, thinking every household has one? And to write a letter just takes too long. He then asked me the question, who is going to pay for that call? In addition, it's not going to work anyway, because your process is virtually completed, and so far no German has ever been freed by agace. How can you ever be so sure that your mother has the money? Besides, what makes you so sure that she wants to help you, the way you are treating your family? Now I really had to swallow hard for not giving him sharp answers to his stupid questions and comments. I began again to explain him how someone would explain to a small child how important this was to me. Please call my mother. The money for the call, you just take it off my money, and ask my mother to return the call immediately. Then you tell her, please, that this is highest urgency. With a contemptuous gesture, he gave me pen and paper and said, give me all this in written statement. So I wrote it all over again in every detail and put my autograph underneath. Mr. Sturm could still not resist making stupid remarks against Dr. Wesley. You just wait. He wants to reap only your money without doing anything anyway. I had a lot to counter, but I had held myself back. However, I gave instructions that all incoming money should be deposited on the account of Dr. Wesley. Mr. Sturm understood exactly, without words, that I believed it better there than in the hands of the consulate. For me, the conversation was over. Once he was out of earshot, it burst out of me. Fuck you. Hoping the money arrived quickly, I wrote that evening to Mr. Waldman, explained the situation, and asked him to call my mother. I didn't trust this Mr. Sturm. After that day, I became increasingly nervous. Every day would come the sentence, then everything would be too late for me. Time was running against me. Suddenly, everything bugged me in my cell. The disorder of Tachi and Sheila, the novellas, Tachi's quirky nature, everything. Not only was I nervous, Tachi was also, because she would soon be released, and was also annoyed because Sheila at that time didn't work. Thus, the three of us were all day in the cell, getting on each other's nerves, swearing at each other. Sheila cried often, was also down with her nerves. I was swearing back at both of them. Tachi was moody and constantly complained about something. I realized I had to get out of here. The time had come again.